This is University of Calabar anthem, sung by Glorio Sang, Ashiwe Joseph, Ruth Ejiro Tega.
Here, as we still stand.
Our Father, we thank you. We commit this inaugural lecture into your hands. We ask that your spirit take total preeminence in all that we are doing here. Some will trust in horses, some will trust in chariots, but we're committing it into your hands because you are our source and our sustainer. Therefore, may you be glorified in all that will happen here in the name of Jesus.
You may please take your seats. May I, with Jesus' joy, welcome us to the 150th Inaugural Lecture of the University of Calabar, which has as its topic, Taming the Silent Destroyer, Harnessing Sustainability to Combat Corrosion. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we go into the crux of today's matter, may I welcome those and introduce those on the high table. May I introduce first on the high table the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Calabar, Professor Florence Obi. Please put your hands together for her. And also here present is a Vice-Chancellor designate, Professor Ofiong Ifanga Ofiong. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, sir. May I also introduce was the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, Professor Tony Ibebe Iyang. Please put your hands together. And also to be recognized is the Registrar of the institution, Dr. Mrs. Chukwuemeka Okafor. You're welcome, ma'am. May I also recognize here present the University Librarian, Professor Anyebiet Ntui. Please put your hands together for her. The Chairman, Committee of Deans is also here present, Professor Inang Uda. Please put your hands together. And may I recognize former Vice-Chancellors here present, Provost, College of Medical Sciences, Professor Ngum Ngum, Provost, School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Iyung Ubanga Iyung. Can we put our hands together, please? And may I also recognize Provost, College of Education, University of Calabar, Professor German Anabubu. Please put your hands together. The citation reader, the person that is to unravel the shadow behind the inaugural lecturer, is here present. He is the head of Department History and International Studies, Professor David Imbwa. Please put your hands together for him. And may I recognize here present a Professor of Physical Materials Chemistry, who is also the 150th Inaugural Lecturer. And today coincides with his birthday. He's a celebrant for today. He is no other person than Professor Peter Chukwuemeka Okafor. Please put your hands together for him. Also to be recognized is the Dean Physical Sciences, Professor Ikaite Inang. Please put your hands together for her. And I humbly recognize deans of all the faculties here present, directors of institute, heads of departments and units. And may I particularly recognize here present the immediate past registrar of this institution, who is the Registrar, University of Education, an entrepreneur, Ambassador Gabriel Igbe. He's here present. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, sir. Erudite professors here present. Please, you're all recognized. Past inaugural lecturers, Chairman Ceremonial Committee, Emeritus Professor Chris Nwamo. Please, you're recognized, sir. And Emeritus Professor Ime Usim. You're all recognized. Invited guests, members of the university community, Malabite and Malabresis. Malabite and Malabresis. May I recognize the immediate family of the inaugural lecturer. First to be recognized is his better half, beauty beyond description. She is the husband's mirror. Yes, Akudiya, Lolo. May I recognize her presence? I'm sure maybe while he was preparing the lecture, she was busy massaging his back to ensure that he will not have back pain and there will be a success. And so please permit me to introduce to you his better half, sugar in his tea that he drinks, Dr. Mrs. Love Ibeyin Okafor. Please put your hands together for her. You're welcome, madam. The children are here. The first name is quite lengthy, but I'll try my best, my very best. Chukwuemeka Yelum, yes. MC Petrus Okafor. Please put your hands together for him. Then Chisom Ibeyin Alexis Okafor. That's beautiful. And may I recognize the last, but not the least, Chim Diebube, Clarissa Okafor. Hey, please put your hands together for them. That's beautiful. The siblings, Pastor Benny Okafor, Pastor Noye Aniche, Engineer Uchenna Okafor. I think he'll join virtual with us. And the clergy is here present, Reverend Joseph Ushe, Pastor Temple Udoko, Pastor Kelechi Chibuzo, Pastor Ifyum Henshaw. At this point, may I hand over the microphone to the University Registrar, Dr. Mrs. Chukwuemeka Okafor, to please continue with further proceedings of the inaugural lecture. Please put your hands together for her.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to call on the Vice-Chancellor, the 11th Vice-Chancellor, the Golden Vice-Chancellor of University of Calabar, and the chairman of this occasion, Professor Florence Banku Obi, to give her opening remarks.
Thank you, my registrar. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me recognize the Vice-Chancellor designates. Let me recognize my principal officers. Let me recognize the Chairman Committee of Deans. Let me recognize the provosts, all the provosts, the deans, the directors, the professors, heads of departments, our visiting registrar emeritus, and all the visiting guests here, especially the family members of the 150th Inaugural Lecturer. I welcome you all today. The last three inaugural lecturers have been talking about human beings, measuring the performance of human beings, retirement of staff who are human beings, how to make more money, marketing strategies for more money in your pocket, referring to human beings. Today, we are having a departure from talking about man to talking about other inanimate things, he said so. We are going to be talking about the taming the silent destroyer. Whoever is a silent destroyer, we don't know. We shall be told that. But that harnessing sustainability to combat corrosion. Perhaps corrosion is a silent destroyer. That we do not know, and we don't want to make any guess into that. But today we are here with one of our own, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Research, Linkages, and Collaboration, Professor Peter Okafor, will be taking us through why he is a professor of no mean repute. A professor who is well cited globally as one of the top 2%, am I correct? 2% most cited authors globally. We are blessed as a university to have this man as one of our own. No wonder in the past few years that he has sat as a DVC research. We have been able to pull in so much money. In fact, we have attracted billions of naira into the University of Calabar through research. It has never been so good for the University of Calabar. That is because this man knows exactly what to do. And today we are happy he's giving his inaugural lecture today. But more importantly, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating this man today as he marks his 150th inaugural lecture. As he gives his the 150th inaugural lecture of Unical. But more importantly, this man today is his birthday. So we can as well say happy birthday to him. Happy birthday, and wish you a double celebration. Congratulations.
The chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'll now invite Professor David Mbua to read the citation of the 150th inaugural lecturer.
Recording
Professor
in progress.
Chukwuemeka Okafor. Chukwuemeka.
Madam Vice-Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to present to you a scholar of rare distinction, a man whose brilliance, humility, and devotion to knowledge have illuminated not only the University of Calabar, but the global community of knowledge, Professor Peter Chukwuemeka Okafor. Madam Vice-Chancellor and Chairperson of this inaugural lecture, kindly permit me to ask the distinguished professor and the 150th lecturer to please stand for the reading of his citation. Born in the historic city of Onitsha, Anambra State, to the noble family of Mr. Alexander Nwabunwani Chiobu Okafor of Osiele, Ogbonike, and Mrs. Christina Okamaka Okafor of Efite, Ogbonike, the young Peter began his journey of excellence in Sapele, Delta State, where his father held a distinguished position at the African Timber and Plywood Company. His early academic studies began at Ogodo Primary School, Sapele, continued at Okwe Grammar School, Sapele, and were grand with his secondary education at the famous Emekomeko High School, Sebastian Academy, Owerri, in 1987. After a brief but successful sojourn in business, destiny called him to a higher intellectual service, the pursuit of knowledge. In 1919, he gained admission into the University of Calabar, beginning in biological sciences, botany unit, before yielding to the irresistible pull of chemistry, a field that would later define his life purpose. He graduated in 1995, already marked by the curiosity and discipline that would distinguish his illustrious career. He fulfilled his national youth service in Kwara State, teaching biology at AC/Elodun Anglican Grammar School, where his passion for excellence left an enduring mark among his students. Upon his return to Calabar, he obtained his Master's of Science degree in physical chemistry in 2000, and driven by an insatiable quest for knowledge, commenced his doctoral research in 2001. A journey that will soon take him across continents and into the realm of global scientific recognition. In 2003, his academic promise was affirmed when he won the prestigious Fulbright Junior Staff Development Fellowship, which took him to the Institute for Corrosion and Multi-Phase Flow Technology at Ohio State University, the United States of America. Other highly competitive fellowships followed in quick succession. The CAS Two-Ways Postdoctoral Fellowship, 2008 to 2009, the Two-Ways UNESCO Associateship Fellowship, 2010 to 2013, and the CAS President International Fellowship Initiative as a visiting professor at the Institute of Metal Research, Shanghai, China, 2019 to 2020. Professor Peter Okafor earned his PhD in 2005 and was immediately appointed lecturer 2 in the Department of Pure and Applied Chemistry in the University of Calabar. Through sheer brilliance, diligence, and consistency, he rose steadily through the ranks, becoming a professor of physical and materials chemistry in 2017. A scholar of uncommon depth, Professor Peter Okafor has earned global renown in physical and applied chemistry, teaching and researching across fields such as physical chemistry, thermodynamics, electrochemistry, clinical kinetics, and colloid and surface chemistry. His research impact is exceptional, with over 100 publications, 82 Scopus Index papers, an H index of 43, and more than 7,000 citations. His works have shaped industrial and scientific practices globally. Little wonder Stanford University and Elsevier have ranked him among the 2% scientists in the world. And this has been done consecutively for the past 5 years, from 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and to the current ranking released in September 2025. This is a rare distinction that underscores his enduring influence in global science. I think we can do better than that. In the classroom and laboratory, Professor Peter Okafor has been an outstanding mentor, having successfully supervised 6 PhDs, 16 masters, 12 PhDs, and over 100 undergraduate projects. His expertise has been sought across Nigeria, China, Europe, the United States, and India, where he served as external examiner to higher degrees and assessor for professorial levels. Beyond teaching and research, Professor Peter Okafor has rendered distinguished service to the University of Calabar in pivotal administrative capacity. He has served as the pioneer deputy vice-chancellor, research, linkages, and collaborations. Pioneer director of external relations and partnership. Head, physical chemistry unit. Group head, collusion and electrochemistry research group. Member, University of Calabar Governing Council, and key committee member on budget implementation, welfare, and the College of Medical Sciences. President, Fulbright Alumni Association of Nigeria, Unical Chapter, 2015 to 2020. In recognition of his meritorious service, the University of Calabar honored him with the Meritorious Service Award in March 2024, and recently honored him with the prestigious 2025 Fulbright Alumni Association of Nigeria Award as an outstanding researcher. Professor Peter Okafor's influence transcends the university. He is a fellow of the African Academic Network, a member of the Towards Young Affiliate Network, having represented the African continent from 2010 to 2014 as a Towards Young Affiliate Fellow and a proud member of both the Institute of Chartered Chemists of Nigeria and the Chemical Society of Nigeria. Beyond his roles, Professor Peter Okafor is a man of grace, warmth, humility, and faith, a devoted husband and a loving father. He is married to his heart delight, Dr. Mrs. Love Ebenyen Okafor, and their union is blessed with 3 wonderful children, Cheko Onoye, Ohenda McPetrix, Jesome Benyin Elezis, and Chidi Ebube Onugande Carezas. Together, they form the true anchor of his inspiration, motivation, and purpose. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Professor Okafor's story is one of vision, courage, and divine grace. A tale that stretches from the classroom of Ogodo Sapele through the halls of the University of Calabar to the laboratories of Ohio and the Research Institute of China. In every step, he has carried the banner of the University of Calabar with dignity and brilliance. Madam Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a scholar whose interests command respect, whose leadership inspires confidence, and whose achievements bring great pride to our university and nation. With deep respect and admiration, I present to you a well-ranked scientist, a distinguished academic, an astute administrator, and a 150th inaugural lecturer of the University of Calabar, who was announced to the world on this day several decades ago, Professor Peter Chukwuemeka Okafor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yep. The chairman, please increase the volume a little bit. The chairman of the inaugural lecture and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Calabar, the Vice-Chancellor designate, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, the University Registrar, the University Librarian, the University Bossa, the Chairman Committee of Deans, members of the Governing Council here present, all former Vice-Chancellors here present, the Provost, College of Education, College of Medical Sciences, and College of Postgraduate Studies, the Dean of Faculty of Physical Sciences, and other deans here present, the Director of Institutes and Directorates, the head of the Department of Pure and Industrial Chemistry, and other heads of departments here present, past inaugural lecturers, Professor Emeritus and Professor Emerita, distinguished professors, members of convocation and congregation, my lords, spiritual and temporal, traditional rulers, clan heads, chiefs and intufams, Malabites and great Malabreses, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Vice-Chancellor, please permit me to dedicate this inaugural lecture to the loving memories of my father, Alexander Nwabonwanne Chiobi Okafor, and my sweet mother, Christiana Okamaka Okafor Ne Obi, my uncle and godfather, engineer Emmanuel Chukwumomata, and my mentor extraordinary, Professor Odofort Jack Epe. I dedicate this lecture for their significant roles in my education from cradle to the position of Professor of Physical and Materials Chemistry. Madam Vice-Chancellor, they came, they fulfilled destiny, and now their light shines from beyond. Madam Vice-Chancellor, my journey here is short. on planet Earth. And I have come to realize that the battle is not won by human strength alone. From childhood, I have sensed an invisible presence guiding my path, and I am humbled by the realization that I could not take credit for the accomplishments in my life. There have been times when I have heard a gentle voice say, "This is the way, walk in it." And though I have so many times stumbled, I have found that God's mercies abound. It is not about human effort, but about God's guidance and mercy that have brought me this far. And so I give God all the thanks, and I give him all the glory for all he has done. And his glory no man will take but God himself. Madam Vice-Chancellor, my grandmother, Jerry, please. I want mommy to listen to me now. Madam Vice-Chancellor, my grandmother told me I was her husband in my previous life. That means I am my grandfather. And that before I passed on, she said that I told her that in my next life, I would come back to the family and I would study and get to the pinnacle of education, and I would travel far away from my home, and I will marry far away from home. Those prophecies, Madam Vice-Chancellor, came to pass. I traveled far away to Calabar and other parts of the globe to study, and I became a professor, the only one in the family for now. And Madam Vice-Chancellor, I traveled 6 hours from Obunike to Calabar and another 6 hours from Calabar to Bekwara to marry a beautiful damsel, a non-Igbo girl. And guess what, Madam Vice-Chancellor? The only non-Igbo damsel in my family for now. My grandmother, Okafor Asa Akpabio, before she passed on, told me that I have fulfilled, I have achieved all my set goals that I promised to achieve in my previous life. And ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to take the journey to another level. My father was an electrical engineer who wanted at least one of his sons. He gave birth to 4 sons. I am number 3. At least one of them to study engineering. But I wanted to be a medical doctor. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I tried. But I succeeded when I married a medical doctor. When my father could not convince me to study engineering, he told me the story of a professor of chemistry in the University of Benin. I can't recall his name, but he respected that man and admired him so much. I remember that story after his death in 1990 and changed to the Department of Chemistry through the intervention of our then young and dynamic Dr. Offiong Efanga Offiong, now a distinguished professor Offiong Efanga Offiong, and the Vice-Chancellor designate of the University of Calabar. By divine direction, I walked to my supervisor, Professor U.J. Ekpe, Udofort Jack Ekpe, and indicated interest in working with him as his undergraduate project students. After my NYSC, also by divine direction, I also went to him to mentor me at MSc level, and he introduced me into the field of corrosion science. I worked with both Professor O.E. Offiong, who synthesized the compound thiosemic carbazones that was used for corrosion inhibition, and I worked with Professor U.J. Ekpe, who supervised the work. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I didn't know anything about publication then, but 3 papers were published from that work in reputable international Scopus Index journals. With the successes achieved from my first outing in corrosion science, it was natural for me to gravitate towards a deeper understanding of the corrosion phenomena at the PhD level. This I did under the supervision of, again, Professor U.J. Ekpe and Professor U.J. Ibok. My quest for understanding the complex field of corrosion led me to the Institute of Corrosion and Multi-Phase Flow Technology in Ohio University, Athens, Ohio, under the Fulbright Fellowship Program, where I was mentored by the renowned Professor Sergeant Nesich, a chemical and mechanical engineering. I worked with rigs, and I acquired engineering skills that I previously avoided. It was at Ohio University that I met Professor Yugui Zeng, who now invited me to the Institute of Metal Research in the Chinese Academy of Sciences to study as a postdoctoral research fellow, where I studied the inhibition of CO2 corrosion by environmentally friendly inhibitors. Following my sojourn, a good number of my mentees have gone there for their PhD program. Currently, one of them is concluding university after acquiring my PhD in 2005 and rose through the rank to be pronounced a professor in 2017. It was not an easy journey, but it was an interesting one, and worth every effort put into it. Today, I gathered here to walk through some strides that have shaped my journey on this side of eternity, notably the work done that led to the pronouncement of the son of Alexander Nwabunwanne Okafor and the grandson of Okafor Asa of Osile Obunike in Anambra State to the enviable rank of Professor of Physical and Materials Chemistry. My research efforts are focused on understanding the mechanism, the inhibition, and the modeling of corrosion processes, and environmental pollution as it relates to corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, 84% of over 100 publications that I have are in the field of corrosion science. Over the next few minutes, we will journey through my about 30 years of research efforts across continents to unveil a silent destroyer and chart a course for its repair by leveraging sustainable strategies to combat corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, let me take us back a little bit to basic science, what they call basic science today, but when we were in school, it was integrated science. In chemistry, we are concerned with the composition, the structure, the properties, and the reactions of matter. Matter can be said to be the physical substances of the universe, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy. It's matter. And matter, Madam Vice-Chancellor, is anything that has weight and can occupy space. What it means, is that if you have weight and you're occupying space, you are a matter. These substances called matter are made up of tiny fundamental particles called atoms, which combine in different ways to form elements, to form compounds, and to form mixtures. An element is the simplest form of matter and is made up of only one kind of atom. Two or more elements can be chemically combined in fixed proportion to form compounds. when two or more elements are physically combined, retain their individual properties, and can be separated by any physical means, you will say it's a mixture. However, we're interested in elements. Elements are classified into metals, non-metals, and metalloids. Metals are elements known for their strength, known for their conductivity, and as a chemist, especially known for their ability to form positive ions. Metals are indisposable due to their unique properties. We live in a world built with metals. Madam Vice-Chancellor, if you look around you, this building, the skeleton of this building is made up of steel, metal. The spaghetti highway that ushered you into Calabar is made up of metal. The water that runs through our tap runs through metallic and copper and iron taps. Our cooking utensils, made up of metals. The wires in our houses, the jewelries that some of us are wearing, the phones that some of us are playing with now, and the phones in our pockets, the cars that brought us to this venue are all enabled by metal. Yet, every one of these structures and devices is under a constant silent siege, returning to the more stable oxidized state from which we so energetically wrested it. Most of the metals found in nature are in the form of compounds, except the noble metals like gold and platinum. To obtain the metals from this state, energy is applied, chemically reducing the metal compounds to a thermodynamically less stable pure metal. That process is called extractive metallurgy. These pure metals react with the environment to regain their thermodynamically lower state and return to the compound state similar to the mineral they were extracted from. That process is called corrosion. Thus, corrosion is sometimes referred to as the reverse of extractive metallurgy. Ladies and gentlemen, corrosion is a silent, insidious, and incredible creative force of destruction. The common perception of corrosion today for some of us are rusting. One of them is rusting. We know the word rusting. Rusting is the corrosion of iron, Fe. When iron rusts, we say it has corroded. Another word we are also used to is the tarnishing of our silver jewelries, the discoloration of our silver jewelries. That is the corrosion of silver. But this simply described phenomenon is a dangerous oversimplification. The reality is more complex, is much more fascinating, and far more costly. In economic impact alone, its economic impact alone is staggering, with its global estimation of nearly $2.5 trillion every year, or roughly 3 to 4% of the world's GDP. This financial burden encompasses both direct expenses, such as repairs, replacement, and maintenance, and indirect costs, including operational downtime, production losses, and safety incidents. A significant proportion of these losses are preventable through proper design, timely inspection, and the adoption of proven corrosion management practices. The same study by NACE suggests that by implementing existing corrosion practices, we can save 15 to 35% of the $2.5 trillion global cost, which is about $375 to $875 billion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, this represents an astronomical annual savings. In addition to the financial burden, corrosion is a threat to human safety and life. Catastrophic events such as bridge collapse, pipeline leaks, and industrial explosion, which inevitably lead to the tragic loss of human lives and extensive property damage. All these frequently share a common preventable root cause, which is unchecked corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I know you will be wondering with me, but I wonder what must have caused the collapse of the roof of the University of Administration block. A single point of rust, unnoticed and untreated, can compromise the integrity of an entire structure, turning a routine engineering challenge into a public disaster. As we reflect on these consequences, it becomes clear that combating corrosion is not a technical option, but a societal imperative. It calls for collaborations among engineers, policymakers, scientists, and industrial leaders to ensure that the materials that build our world also sustain it safely and responsibly. While the economic damage from corrosion is presumed to be substantial, Madam Vice-Chancellor, the true financial cost to the Nigerian economy remains unmeasured. Vice-Chancellor, please permit me to use this opportunity to call on the Nigerian Corrosion Association, the Council for Regulation of Engineering of Nigeria, COREN, Chemical Society of Nigeria, and other allied associations, national research institutes, universities, government agencies, industrial associations, and consulting firms to form teams of diverse expertise in corrosion science and engineering, material science and engineering, economics and data analysis, to undertake this very important task of quantifying the economics and cost of corrosion in Nigeria. This will help our country to take proactive steps to mitigate its impact and promote substantial economic development, as well as saving us some national embarrassment. To effectively understand the mechanism and devise appropriate strategies to control corrosion, corrosion is broadly classified into two categories: the uniform corrosion and the localized corrosion. Uniform corrosion involves the even dissolution and progressive thinning of the metal surface. While it accounts for the greatest mass of metal loss, its predictable nature allows for accurate service life estimation and rarely causes sudden and catastrophic failure because it can be predicted. Localized corrosion attacks specific limited areas due to electrochemical and metallurgical differences, leading to a separation of reaction sites. I'll talk more about the reaction sites later. Unlike uniform corrosion, it is highly unpredictable and is responsible for failures of much greater technical and safety concerns. There are different types of localized corrosion. One that some of us are well familiar with is the pitting corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, when I was small, I think I used to remember when our metallic pot will have a hole in it. And when you're cooking, it will be dropping on the fire. At times, some of those tinker buckets, this jet generation may not know, the tinker bucket that we used to carry, and when there is hole on it as a result of corrosion and pitting corrosion, which is a localized corrosion, we will call tinker basin to come and change the bottom and fix another one. It's a result of corrosion. And that corrosion, that pitting localized corrosion, creates small holes and pits, while the rest of the surface remains largely unaffected. So you may not know the pipeline. It can lead to loss, explosion, and every other contamination of the environment. There are other types of localized corrosion: crevice corrosion, galvanic corrosion, Philippon corrosion, intergranular corrosion, flow-induced corrosion, etc., etc. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I have done some work on uniform corrosion and its inhibition, but a good number of my research work is in CO2 corrosion. A good number of my research work in CO2 corrosion are on the mechanism and the inhibition of localized corrosion, especially pitting and flow-induced corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, any environment that contains electrolytes and medium that permits electrochemical reactions to occur on a metal surface, thereby enabling corrosion, is a corrosion environment. What it means, an electrolyte is any substance that dissociates in a solution or in molten form and conduct electricity is referred to as an electrolyte. An example is the common salt you have in your home. If you dissolve it in water, it dissociates into sodium and chloride ion. And it has the ability of conducting electricity, and so it's a corrosive environment. The environment is the key factor. The severity of corrosion is determined entirely by the interaction between the material and its surrounding medium. It is crucial to understand that all environments possess some degree of corrosivity. Even seemingly benign environments like the one we are in today. Sorry, I'm trying to. Come and help, I can't find my cursor. It has appeared. It's not corrosion that affected it. So I was saying that over time, even this environment that looks benign can also cause corrosion. It's also a corrosive environment. It is also worth noting that all metals corrode, but the rate and extent of corrosion vary significantly depending on the environment. And some of these typical environments are what you're seeing on the screen there: atmospheric corrosive environment, aquatic corrosive environment, soil environment, and non-aqueous corrosive environment. The atmospheric corrosive environment is a condition where air, moisture, and pollutants interact with metallic material, causing varying degrees of corrosion. The extent of corrosion depends on humidity, presence and type of pollutants, temperature, and salinity. Corrosion rates actually differ significantly between dry and humid regions. High humidity facilitates a continuous electrolyte layer essential for electrochemical corrosion, an effect greatly intensified by atmospheric contaminants. This is clearly seen in Nigeria here, where the humid south, Calabar, Cross River, and other states in the south experience much more higher corrosion than the dry north. When pollutants deposit on metal surface and combine with moisture, they intensify When pollutants deposit on metal structure, it increases the rate of corrosion. And that is why corrosion rate in an oil-producing state or city close to the marine environment is more corrosive than a place like Cross River State. For example, in Ibuno, there's an oil company that releases pollutant into the atmosphere. There is a marine environment very close by that releases salt into the environment. And also, the environment is highly humid. So that Ibuno will be highly more corrosive than Cross River State. That is a little bit far from the ocean, and at the same time, we don't have so much industry. Madam Vice-Chancellor, in 2009, we measured the atmospheric and the precipitation parameter of Cross River of Calabar, and we also included the University of Calabar environment. And it indicates that the university environment has experienced minimal detrimental influence by human activities. Consequently, it falls within the excellent relative corrosion environment classification. What it means is that corrosion at the University of Calabar is principally due to natural phenomenon such as high rainfall, humidity, and temperature. Aquatic environments can also be highly corrosive. Aquatic, we're talking about fresh water, brackish water, and the marine environment. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I have conducted substantial work on the corrosion of metals, especially carbon steel and mild steel in aquatic environment. My research has covered corrosion in mineral acid solutions, CO2 saturated solutions, and saline aqueous systems. The mechanism of corrosion in any aqueous system is highly dependent on the chemical composition of the environment and the nature of the corroding material. Soil corrosion environment refers to soil conditions that cause metal corrosion in direct contact with the soil. Unlike atmospheric corrosion, soil corrosion is less predictable due to the fluctuating nature of the soil parameters within a site. In 2000, I don't know what, let me talk like my brother Chukwuemeka. The devil is a liar. Please come and help me, somebody, please. The cursor keeps disappearing. You see, he's gone again and the thing has disappeared. Okay, thank you. So key environmental factors that influence soil corrosivity includes temperature, moisture, oxygen content, pH, microbial activities in the soil, and soluble salt. In 2018, Madam Vice-Chancellor, my research team investigated the impact of physicochemical parameters from municipal solid waste dump sites and mechanic workshops on the soil corrosion of mine steel at various depths in Calabar metropolis, including the University of Calabar soil. Once again, Madam Vice-Chancellor, the University of Calabar soil exhibited the lowest corrosion tendencies compared to the other study location, indicating that it is not significantly polluted. Non-aqueous corrosive environment refers to environments where corrosion occurs in the absence of water or aqueous solution, such as organic solvent and molten salts. Corrosion is an electrochemical process. And how does it occur? It involves what we call redox reaction. I remember when Professor Young presented his inaugural, he told us about redox reaction. Redox reaction involves reduction and oxidation reaction. For corrosion to occur, there must be 3 steps. Please have that in mind. Just know that. That's one thing you must learn here today. 3 steps. 1, there will be an oxidation at the anode. 2, there will be a reduction at the cathode. And 3, there must be a formation of products. You can stop any of these 3 from happening, then you can control corrosion. Let me explain a little bit using graphical means. I decided to go graphical because I know a lot of us run away from chemistry because of equations and symbols. So I will try to explain it graphically. The gray substance there is the metal, and that is steel. The major component of steel is iron. In chemistry, we use Fe to represent iron. And the green part is water. In chemistry, we use H2O to represent water. When iron is in contact with water, it will form H2, it will go into solution and form iron 2+, which is iron-iron. And at the same time, it's going to release an electron. Now, the water, that process of releasing electron and oxidizing from iron to iron 2+ is known as the anodic reaction. And that reaction occurs at the anode. The water that is present in the system reacts with dissolved oxygen in the system and migrates to the surface of the metal where that free electron is and is reduced to OH-. That is the cathodic reaction. So we have the anodic and then we have the cathodic. Remember, the third one is that a product must be formed. Now the OH moves to the ion and the two of them get married and they form what is known as a corrosion product, which is iron hydroxide. Iron hydroxide is very uncomfortable in water, in the presence of oxygen. So we will say it's not very stable in the presence of oxygen. So it reacts with oxygen and produces iron 3 oxide, hydrated iron 3 oxide, which is the rust that we see when you say iron has corroded. If you can stop any of these processes from happening, then you can stop corrosion from happening. Also notice from that graphical representation, you see the red circling thing there. It shows that an ion molecule or atom has left the metal. And you can imagine when many of them leaves the metal will degrade, and that is the corrosion. I have done a lot of work on CO2 corrosion. CO2 corrosion is a form of corrosion that is prevalent in the oil and gas industry. It occurs at all stages of production, from downhole to surface equipment and processing facilities. It occurs principally in the form of general corrosion, that is uniform corrosion, and also occurs in 3 variants of localized corrosion, which is pitting, mesa attack, and flow-induced corrosion. Again, how does it happen? What's the mechanism? I will once again explain it graphically. We are used to that. The metal in the water. CO2, unlike the previous one, we have oxygen in the system. But in CO2 corrosion, the system is completely deoxygenated with carbon dioxide. That means oxygen is no longer present in the system, or is present in an insignificant quantity. Now, the CO2 will exist in 2 phases, in the gaseous phase and in the aqueous phase. That means there's a physical equilibrium between the gaseous CO2 and the aqueous CO2. The aqueous CO2 reacts with water and it forms carbonic acid. Carbonic acid in solution dissociates into hydrogen carbonate and hydrogen ion. Hydrogen ion there is what reduces the pH of the system and makes it acidic. That is why, Madam Vice-Chancellor, the moment you open that water here and we have CO2 in the environment and CO2 dissolves in that water, the water can no longer have a pH of, can no longer be neutral. It has to be acidic, slightly acidic because of the presence of CO2. The hydrogen carbonate dissociates in solution to give us hydrogen ion again and carbonate ion. Now, that's the water chemistry of CO2 saturated system. All these things that look like symbols, let me not call them chemicals, they are actually present in the system. Again, anodic reaction will take place. Ion will be oxidized to ion 2+ and will release electron. That's what we call the anodic reaction. And then the undissociated carbonic acid will migrate to the surface and will be reduced to hydrogen gas. At the same time, the partially dissociated hydrogen carbonate will also migrate to the cathodic region and will be reduced to hydrogen ion. And again, the carbonate, especially at higher pH, will migrate and be reduced to hydrogen ion. Generally, we know hydrogen molecule. Generally, we know the hydrogen molecule is a gas and will not remain in the system, and so will give way. Also, the carbonate will react with the ion that is present in the solution and form what we call ion carbonate. Ion carbonate can actually be protective. If it migrates to the surface of the metal, it will form a film on the surface of the metal and protect the metal from further corrosion. However, if there is a crack there in the ion carbonate film, it will cause what we call localized corrosion, especially the pitting corrosion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, corrosion necessitates electrochemical studies. While the University of Calabar has 2 advanced potential start for this, their maintenance is hampered by a lack of skilled local technologists. The nearest workshop for repairs today of our potential start is located in the US, which incurs significant shipping costs. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I humbly propose that our Faculty of Engineering and Technology, the Department of Science Laboratory Technology, and related disciplines should collaborate to train specialists in the maintenance, in the repairs, and in the production of research facilities. This would enable us to utilize our equipment effectively, promote local production, and potentially explore export opportunities. During the recent curriculum review of the National Open University of Nigeria's Master's Program in Analytical Chemistry, I championed this approach, which led to the introduction of a new course I designed, Analytical Technique Development, Chemistry 830. I urge my colleagues across academic landscape to consider similar initiatives. By equipping our students with the skills to build and innovate, we ensure that they become the pioneers of tomorrow, not just the technicians of today. Madam Vice-Chancellor, corrosion is influenced by various factors, but the 2 primary factors that determine its occurrence and the rate at which it occurs are the nature of the metal and the characteristics of the corrosive environment. Madam Vice-Chancellor, as a result of time, please permit me to skip this. It's there in the pamphlet. Methods of combating corrosion. Corrosion cannot be stopped, have that in mind, but its scope and its severity can be controlled by employing one or more of the following methods. One is the material selection, which involves choosing material resistant in the operating environment. Another is cathodic protection. Cathodic protection is actually an electrochemical corrosion mitigation technique that applied an external electrical circuit for an electrical current to metal structure in soils and water, suppressing their natural tendency to oxidize. And that can be achieved in 2 ways. One is a sacrificial anode. Sacrificial anode means Jesus Christ dying for your sin. So Jesus is going to be the anode, and then it will protect you that becomes the cathode from dying. That's exactly what it means. If you want to know more about it, please just take a look at the book. As a result, because of time, let me keep moving. So there are two cathodic protection. We have sacrificial anode, and we have the impressed current. We also have the protective coating. Protective coating is like your car. If you expose the metal, it's going to corrode. But if you spray it with a coating, then you prevent it from having direct contact with the environment, and so corrosion will not occur. Use of corrosion inhibitors. Most of my work in combating corrosion is actually in the use of corrosion inhibitors. There are basically 4 types of corrosion inhibitors. One, we have anodic inhibitors, we have cathodic inhibitors, we have mixed inhibitors, and then we have vapor phase inhibitors. Corrosion inhibitors are substances which, when added to a solution, to a corrosive environment, usually in a very small quantity, decreases the rate of attack by the environment on the metal surface. Anodic inhibitors prevents anodic reaction from taking place. Remember, I told you that if you can stop any of those reactions, then you can stop corrosion. When you use anodic inhibitors and it prevents the anodic reaction from taking place, then we refer to it as anodic inhibitors. If it prevents the cathodic reaction from taking place, then you say it's a cathodic inhibitor. But if it prevents both the anodic and the cathodic inhibition, cathodic and anodic reaction from taking place, then we refer to it as mixed inhibitor. Most organic compounds are mixed inhibitors. Organic compounds are chemical compounds containing organic molecules that are effective in reducing or preventing corrosion. They primarily function as mixed corrosion inhibitor. The inhibition process of organic compound is generally understood to occur via inhibition adsorption. Adsorption, AD, I will always tell my student, AD is different from absorption. Adsorption is a surface phenomenon. It is the attraction and retention of molecules on the surface, leading to more of the molecules at the surface than in the bulk of the system. Absorption is the attraction and uniformly distributed, the molecule is uniformly distributed in the bulk of the system. So it's not only on the surface, but in the bulk of the system. So inhibition adsorption is attraction of the molecule to the surface. It will do 2 things. 1, it will cause a blocking effect. That is, forming a film on the available sites. If a film is protecting the available sites, either the cathodic or the anodic, then the oxidation and reduction reaction cannot take place. It can also form transport barrier, preventing the active ingredients or the active species, the corrosive species, from getting to the metal. It can also have some energy effect, which is modifying the activation energy of the system. I have done a lot of work in CO2 corrosion using imidazolines. As a result of time, I can see I have just a few minutes. I will skip that. Plant extracts. Plant extracts are exceptionally rich sources of naturally synthesized chemicals, with thousands having been identified. Moreover, over 80% of the approximately 30,000 known natural products are of plant origin. Plant chemicals are broadly, I think I remember when Ubana Eyong presented his inaugural, he told us about the primary metabolites and the secondary metabolites. Plant chemicals are broadly classified as either primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. For us in corrosion inhibition studies, we are interested mainly in the secondary metabolites, the steroids, the quinines, the taponins, the alkaloids. Those are the ones we are interested in, and they have inhibited corrosion to a very large extent with very good inhibition efficiency. It is interesting to note that in the field of corrosion inhibition, we are returning to natural products as a result of the increasing awareness of health and ecological risk associated with synthetic chemicals. This shift highlights a modern revival of historic practices. As evidenced by the numerous plant extracts and their impressive inhibition efficiency reported by my team and included in my contribution to knowledge, we are proving that sustainable chemistry is not a compromise, it is an optimization. The new paradigm is clear. Through rigorous science, we can develop non-toxic, renewable, and highly effective green corrosion inhibitors that not only protects our vital infrastructure, but also safeguard the environment for future generations. Plant extracts have gained attention as potential corrosion inhibitors due to their advantages. What are the advantages? Biodegradability. Plant extracts are eco-friendly and easily decompose, reducing environmental concern. They are also sustainable. Plant-based inhibitors can be sourced from renewable resources, ensuring a sustainable supply. Broad availability. Plants are widely available, making it possible to explore various sources for corrosion inhibition. However, there are some challenges: the variability, the mechanistic complexity, and also the field applicability. Generally, plant extracts face reproducibility and scalability issues, which can be addressed with further research. By acknowledging the limitations listed above and leveraging the benefits, researchers can develop more effective and sustainable plant-based corrosion inhibitors. Madam Vice-Chancellor, with your permission, I shall briefly outline some of my research contributions that have been instrumental in characterizing this silent destroyer and developing effective, sustainable methods to combat it. Madam Vice-Chancellor, we have studied and reported the effect of acetic acid on CO2 corrosion. Acetic acid was found to strongly accelerate the cathodic reaction without affecting the anodic process, leading to the corrosion rate that increases with acid concentration and temperature. In a more realistic vapor water two-phase stratified flow at 80 degrees centigrade and 2-bar pressure system, corrosion rate on both the top and the bottom of the pipeline was found to increase with acetic acid concentration attributed to the contribution of hydrogen ion from the free acid to the cathodic reaction. Also, the localized corrosion that was observed was linked to the partial coverage of the metal surface by iron carbonate. Drawing from an extensive research sojourn, my contribution to knowledge include elucidating the complex interplay between imidazolene corrosion inhibitors and dynamic flow conditions, with findings summarized in the book. Our work establishes that the performance of these inhibitors, including the corrosion rate and inhibition efficiency, is strongly dictated by parameters such as flow velocity and pattern, and the presence of enstrained sand particles, and the resulting mechanical abrasion and multi-phase flow effect. Over the years, Madam Vice-Chancellor, we have investigated the corrosion inhibition of plant extracts in various aqueous media. This extensive body of work encompassing the testing of over 30 diverse extracts as detailed in the book. Given the complex composition of plant extract, it is difficult to attribute the inhibitory effect to a single constituent. For this reason, in some of our work, like you will notice, the suspected active ingredients responsible for the corrosion inhibition are isolated and tested individually to pinpoint their specific contribution. However, the high efficiency observed in crude plant extracts are often the result of synergistic inhibition among the extract components, though antagonistic effects may also contribute to variation in performance across different extracts. Madam Vice-Chancellor, it may interest you to know that my research team has made a fundamental atomistic level contribution to corrosion science by pioneering the integration of advanced computational chemistry method within the University of Calabar, making a significant methodological shift in the field locally. Permit me to conclude, Madam Vice-Chancellor, that the future of effective corrosion control must be firmly rooted in the principle of sustainability. The path forward requires a transition from toxic, non-conventional mitigation methods to the innovative use of green corrosion inhibitors derived from renewable sources, such as plant extract. Critically, future research must continue to focus on synthesizing and optimizing organic inhibitors whose chemical structure, specifically those containing sulfur and nitrogen in their aromatic rings, possess the requisite properties. Madam Vice-Chancellor, permit me to end by saying that taming the silent destroyer is therefore a core responsibility of our generation in the pursuit of sustainable industrial development. Thank you very much. Madam Vice-Chancellor, allow me to take a moment to express my profound appreciation for the individuals who have been instrumental in shaping my life and career. I must begin by honoring my grandfather, Mr. Okafor, sir. Like I said before my birth, he put forth a powerful prophecy that a great and well-learned offspring of his would be born and would make his people proud. These words were more than a personal hope. They were prophecies that went ahead of me and worked towards their fulfillment. I will also advise us that even before your grandchildren comes, please do yourself a favor and prophesy good things into their lives. Thank you very much, Grandpa Okafor, sir. When my journey here has elapsed, I look forward to meeting you. To my number one hero, my mentor, my father, Alexander Chukwuemeka Okafor, fondly called ANC, and to my sweet mother, Christiana Chukwuemeka Okafor, may God rest their souls. I appreciate you both profoundly. Your selfless sacrifices were not in vain. I commit to honoring your legacy by continuing your exemplary work with your grandchildren. I owe deep gratitude to my uncle and godfather, Engineer Emmanuel Chukwuemeka Okafor, a Jamatu one of Obunike. After my father's passing, you stood by me and supported my every endeavor to succeed in life. For this, I am eternally grateful to my uncles and my aunts. To my uncles and my aunts, I appreciate you all. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I must now acknowledge my many academic and professional mentors and teachers who have labored with me and molded my mind throughout my career as a student, researcher, lecturer, and administrator. I am indebted to each of you, and I begin by paying tribute to Mrs. Teresa Onyakaze, my extraordinary talented chemistry teacher at Emekuku High School, Owerri, the then Sebastian Academy. I acknowledge my three-tier supervisor, academic father, and superlative mentor, Professor Udofo Jack Ekpe, for allowing God to use him to guide me. my doctoral second degree supervisor, Professor U.J. Ibok. Please, Professor Ibok, are you here? Madam Vice-Chancellor, I don't know if you will remember this Professor Ibok. Professor U.J. Ibok, he is in his 80s now, and he's still very active, and he's present in my inaugural lecture. Any of you who have sent any result for vetting must have sent it to Professor U.J. Ibok. Professor U.J. Ibok, please come forward. Come and give the Vice-Chancellor a very good handshake. For the work he has done for this university, I think, Madam Vice-Chancellor, he deserves an award. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the octogenarian Professor U.J. Ibok, my second supervisor. Can you imagine? He's 81. Can you imagine he's 81 years? Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for honoring me. I must also acknowledge my supervisors in Ohio University, Professor Sergeant Nesich and Professor Yu Guizeng, my supervisor in the Institute of Metal Research, Chinese Academy of Sciences. I must acknowledge Professor Eno Ebenso, whose kind words and mentorship in the critical area of research paper writing have been highly instrumental in my success. I truly appreciate you for that. Thank you. My profound gratitude goes to the principal officers of the University of Calabar, led by the astute and visionary Vice-Chancellor, Professor Florence Banku Obi. Madam Vice-Chancellor, you stand as an inspiring beacon of academic leadership, and it is under your tenure that I have gained invaluable insight into core university administration and management. Thank you for your unwavering support. I must say this here. I never, ever, the only time I met Madam Vice-Chancellor was in 2012 when I was taking my son to the University of Calabar creche. Professor Egaga, my in-law, said, my in-law, how are you doing? Madam Professor Florence Obi, please see my in-law. And that was the only time I met her until one night I got a call. Are you Peter Okafor? I said, yes. She said, I've been gone through your profile. I would want you to serve in my administration as the Director of External Linkages and Collaboration, without even meeting me. Thank you, Madam Vice-Chancellor, for that opportunity. I must also express my sincere appreciation to the other members of the principal officers team, which we call the team FBO, the DVCs, the registrar, the librarian, the bursar, and you know the DVC result. Beyond the central administration, I must recognize the leadership within my immediate academic home. I am grateful for the dedication and support of the Dean of Physical Sciences, Professor Ekaite Enan, and other members of the Faculty of Physical Sciences, the head of the Department of Pure and Industrial Chemistry, Professor Grace Inyama, and all the esteemed members of the department, to the provosts of colleges, deans of faculties, the directors of institutes and directorates, and the heads of department. I appreciate the crucial role each of you played in shaping the university ecosystem and in supporting my professional journey. Thank you. To my esteemed academic mentees scattered all over the globe and listed in the book, please accept my deepest appreciation. Intellectual curiosity, your dedication, and hard work have been instrumental to the success of my research sojourn and have profoundly shaped my academic career. My journey through the Department of Chemistry was not a solitary one, but before I acknowledge my classmates in the university, please, Madam Vice-Chancellor, permit me to acknowledge my classmates in secondary school. When they heard I schooled in Emekuku High School in Emekuku, Owerri, when they heard that I'll be presenting my inaugural lecture, they said they must send at least one representative. And I was glad when I saw my classmates that we graduated in 1987 representing the whole class. Please, Padimo, stand up for recognition. Padimo is also a great Malabite. I wish to specially acknowledge the foundational friendship forged with my cohorts from the undergraduate class of 1990 to 1995 and the postgraduate class of 1996 to 2004. Thank you very much for your support. I must acknowledge my friends who have become family. One of them here is Professor Godwin Energy. Energy, please stand up for recognition. The Deputy Provost of the College of Postgraduate Studies. Madam Vice-Chancellor, we used to share one tiny bed in the PG hostel many years ago. I must acknowledge Pastor Kelechi Chibuzo, who shared my little bed with me when we were doing our masters. Pastor Kelechi, sir. Thank you. I must also acknowledge my brother, my friend from the north, who my children call Uncle, Ntufam, Barrister, Fakuta, and Dr. Mrs. Fakuta Nachamada. Please stand up for recognition. Oh, he's over there. God bless you, sir. Permit me to acknowledge my friend who shared the dry Kwili Kwili and Kunu of Kwara State with me when we went for youth service. Pastor Tempo Odoko, the General Overseer of House of Destiny, Port Harcourt. Please stand up for recognition, sir. Ibotemeka Kalio, who most of the time I will run to his room in Hall 5 during our undergraduate days. He works in River State, but when he heard that I'll be presenting my inaugural lecture, he said he must attend. Ibo, God bless you for coming. And I may also use this opportunity to thank the CalCops who are here present. CalCops, Calabar University Christian Union Pilgrims. Please stand up for recognition. Thank you for coming. And permit me also to recognize the Fulbright Alumni Association of Nigeria. Fulbrighters, please stand up for recognition. I know you're here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Madam Vice-Chancellor, on the 12th of November this month, Fulbright Alumni Association awarded me with the Outstanding Researcher Award. Thank you for that award. I appreciate it. I am deeply grateful to the unwavering support of my community leaders and extended kinship network, to the esteemed members of the Zuma and the Umwekedos family of Osile Obunike, and the Opalese family of Ifite Obunike, Ogbako Anambra in Calabar, Anambra Oyi Anyamelu Association, Ndi Obunike na Calabar, Obunike students in the University of Calabar, Anambra students in the University of Calabar, and the Green Native Valley community, including our leader, Ntufa Maurice Iso, you are highly acknowledged. I deeply appreciate the pioneer members of the Office of the DVC Research, Linkages, and Collaborations. I wish to recognize and thank especially the family of my academic father, Professor Stella Ekbe, Engineer Eddie Ekbe, Ms. Ukeme Ifiok Ekbe, and Ima Ekbe. Please, if you are here, respectfully stand up for recognition. Madam Vice-Chancellor, this family enduring legacy of intellectual rigor and personal warmth has significantly influenced my professional growth. I deeply appreciate my in-laws who gave me the best woman in Bekwara. Mr. Fred Ehimbe Adi, please stand up. Mr. Jane Ehimbe Adi, Atam and Caroline Adi, Elizabeth Adi, Abemire and Dan Kobom, Angela Amokeye Adi, and our last born, Ogbene Ehimbe Adi, and all the Bekwara community in Calabar. Thank you for your support. Madam Vice-Chancellor, while I did not personally launch a formal fundraising platform, I was deeply blessed and overwhelmed by the generosity of my friends and relatives. My heart truly pours out to them in profound gratitude. Kindly permit me to specially acknowledge the management team of the University of Calabar. I thank you all. I also specially acknowledge Professor Asim Alice, who said she wants to be the first to contribute to my inaugural lecture, and she was the very first that contributed. Thank you very much, Prof. Mentees and my production team, my profound gratitude goes to my mentee, Eno, and Inime Udo. Madam Vice-Chancellor, Eno did her master's first degree with me, did her master's with me, and decided that she wants to do a PhD outside the country. I told her I don't send females outside to study. If you want to go outside, get a man, introduce a man to me that this is the man you want to marry, and then I will send you outside. And I said, Prof, you're the one preventing me from getting married. Are you sure my husband is not there? So, based on that, I recommended her, and she went to IMRO and did her master's and migrated to Denmark. From Denmark, she's currently in Germany. Madam Vice-Chancellor, when she heard that I'll be presenting my inaugural lecture, she said her family would take care of all the printing during the inaugural. I want to acknowledge my editorial team, led also by one of my mentees, Professor Wilfred Emery. And I want also to acknowledge the culinary team, expertly managed by my blood sister, Ima Ekbe, the CEO of Roots. Thank you to Mrs. Victoria Bassi. Thank you for Shoma Apabende, and alongside all other team who took care of the housekeeping. Thank you once again from the depth of my heart. May God bless you. My greatest joy and hope reside in my children. You are my reason for striving for excellence and the constant reminder of what truly matters. To my precious children, Chukwu Nonyelum Uhe Adam Petrus Okafor, Chimsom Ebenyi Alexis Okafor, and Daddy's special daughter termed my Yum Yum, Chindebube Unung Ada Clarissa Okafor. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your faith in your daddy. And thank you for your boundless energy. I love you deeply. Finally, I turn to the person who is truly my life anchor, to my love of inestimable value, my partner in every sense of the word. Obi Ajolum, Akwanwam, Omalisham, Aponawam, Olino Doziakum, my biggest cheerleader, my doctor, and my best friend, Dr. Mrs. Love Ebenyin Okafor. You bring joy, you bring life, you bring profound meanings to my life in ways you may never fully understand. Thank you for your constant love, your unwavering support, your enduring presence, and even for the necessary troubles you give me. I love you more than words can express, and perhaps that is precisely why I don't say it as often as you want me to. Know that my commitment and gratitude to you is absolute and forever. Thank you very much for coming, and may God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Prof, well done.
Thank you.
It's the last one that amazed me most. I didn't know scientists can also be romantic.
Carry your system from there.
Sorry?
I want to pick your system.
With all that of your wife, today you're going to eat a special pot of soup. Thank you for educating us this evening on the topic, Taming the Silent Destroyer, Harnessing Sustainability to Combat Corrosion. I think we've gotten one or two ways to tame that silent destroyer called corrosion. And we'll definitely put into action what we have learned this afternoon. Please, let's celebrate him again. Well done, sir. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, hello, please, don't go out. Don't walk out when we are not done with the lecture. Please. Thank you for sitting down. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me once again to invite the Golden Vice-Chancellor and Chairman of this occasion, Professor Florence Banku Obi, to step forward for the presentation of the lecture notes by inaugural lecturer and also appreciation of the lecturer by exchange of mementos.
It's not. No. Hello. Madam Vice-Chancellor, no? I want to use this opportunity to thank you for giving me this opportunity to present this lecture and to present this book, Taming the Silent Destroyer, Harnessing Sustainability to Combat Corrosion, to you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
On behalf of the University of Calabar, the Senate, management staff, and students, it is my special privilege to present to you this memento as the 150th Inaugural Lecturer of the great University of Calabar. This day, your birthday, 17th November 2025. Congrats.
Listen, them say, them tell you, say you can never be the one. God say, make I tell you, say now you him choose in 1 month, in 1 week, you will sing a new song in 2
Quickly,
days.
at this point, permit me to invite the Chairman Committee of Deans, Professor Enang Uta, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Okafor, my twin brother. I I used to think that marriage only occurs in the animal kingdom. But in the corrosion world, there is also marriage. Oxidation at the anode, reduction at the cathode, that forms corrosion. So those two marriages is what produces corrosion. So if you want to have corrosion, just join them together and there will be corrosion where you are. I'm also thinking that the corrosion too, we can revert back the corrosion now, because the ions that are corroded, we don't pack it back and then disentangle the marriage, and then we have. Thank you very much for your enthusiastic delivery. That was very beautiful. You didn't make the lecture boring, because those days when we were doing chemistry, the table, 118 element and the rest of them, the thing is so abstract. And even though I was a good student of chemistry, I didn't end up doing chemistry. Just like you, your father said, go and read medicine. He went and read chemistry and waited to marry a medical doctor. You have fulfilled all righteousness. Even though you didn't study medicine, but it's a medical doctor in your house. Thank you very much, Madam Vice-Chancellor. You have seen the output, what you have instigated many of us to do. So from today, Professor Okafor is a professor with a capital P. I want to thank the provosts who are here. I want to thank the deans, especially Professor Kaite Nang, the Dean of Physical Science, for providing the environment for Professor Okafor, and also the heads of departments who are here. We are grateful for this colorful display. We want to thank the DVCs, the librarian, the registrar, and professor that made Okafor to be what he is. You're welcome, Obong Ifyo. You're welcome, sir. That's how we used to call him at the staff club. Obong Ifyo, you're welcome, sir. We bow and tremble for you. We also want to thank 001, who is seated here. Thank you, ma, for coming. You're well appreciated. We also want to thank all the dignitaries who are here. I may not be able to mention your name. He had already mentioned his classmates in secondary schools, because those are your best friends. And then those who were in the university with him, we are grateful. We also thank you, the citation reader. You did a very wonderful work. You X-ray Professor Okafor for us, for those of us who did not know him very closely. The great ambassador, the former registrar, you're welcome, sir. I cite you. And all the professors who are here and Senate members who are here, you are warmly welcome. And then to the inaugural lecturer's family. In fact, the way he was addressing the wife, I was, that was good enough. It came from your heart. Thank you very much for providing the peace at home, because when others are sleeping, some of us will be awake, and maybe the family will be asking questions. What is happening? What are you doing? This is the product of those sleepless nights. And for you to provide the ambience in the house for him, you can see that you are a very proud wife today. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. The development division, the protocol, the information unit, we thank you very much for putting all these together. You are deeply appreciated. And all those who came with the Vice-Chancellor. And lastly, since I have only 2 minutes, let me also thank myself for wearing the gown to come. By Thursday, we have another beautiful one. That when you come, that one, it will not be chemistry again. There will be another English session. You remember the kingdom, the animal kingdom. Here, we'll look at the historical side of perhaps what he is going to display for us. So please, come Thursday this week. Let us also listen to another intellectual feast. Thank you for coming. You are deeply appreciated. Thank you.
I have a message. Congratulations.
As we come to the end of this
I have a
exercise,
message for you.
permit me to call on the Vice-Chancellor again
God has
to make
sent
her
me
closing
to
remarks.
you. I have a message for you. God has sent me to you.
Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, them say,
Gradually
them tell
coming
you.
to the end of this day's intellectual feast. But permit me to appreciate Professor Peter Okafor for taking us through chemistry today. Some of us never for one day entered any classroom where chemistry was taught. And today we sat quietly here for 2 hours listening to him take us through the silent destroyer. But I thought I was actually following the lecture. It was quite interesting. Until we got to a place where I got confused. And I asked my registrar, are you still following? And she said to me, ma, it's confusing now. But I think you tried to simplify the lecture for us. And if there's nothing else, we learned the inhibitors of corrosion. And so when we were talking about one of the inhibitors, I thought you were talking about my church, the Catholic. I saw the first time I saw a Catholic, I look again. Catholic has inhibitor. Then I saw that you were talking about Catholic inhibitors. I said, okay, it's not Catholic inhibitors. So thank you that it wasn't Catholic inhibitors, but we had an anodic, cathodic, and mixed type inhibitors. Thank you so very much, Mr. P, for really taking us through this lecture. My dear colleagues, we can't be tired of enriching ourselves. In the course of delivering his lecture, he mentioned 2 other lecturers before him. He mentioned Professor Fiong's lecture and mentioned Professor Eyong Obana's lecture. Meaning that as we come in here, we enrich ourselves. So sometimes we'll be somewhere else and people are talking about certain topics, certain issues. And then you can just remember what your colleague mentioned during the course of his lecture. And you find yourself relevant in that discussion as an academic staff, especially so. So let's not be tired. Let me join
The broad expanse of Nigeria's sky stands a school with a vision bright, ever holding the banner of knowledge. I will go forward, but with
a young professor, still vibrating with energy, is coming to talk to us on why he became a professor just a few days ago. And that young man is Professor David Mbia. So please, let us be here on that day to join him in that intellectual feast. After that, we'll just have one to go, and then we'll rest for this, in this administration. So, thank you very much, Professor Okafor. You know you didn't want to give your inaugural lecture. But I'm happy and I'm sure you are very fulfilled today. I had to force him. I said, I'm not asking you to decide. It's a directive. So you must give your inaugural lecture because all my principal officers must give their inaugural lectures. And he said, Ma, I still have so many years. I said, it's irrelevant. You're a principal officer and you must give an inaugural lecture. And it turned out to be a very wonderful one. Congratulations Congratulations for taking us through the topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can we put our hands together for the Vice-Chancellor? We have come to the end of the 151st inaugural, 150th inaugural lecture. And we will be having the 151st, just like the Vice-Chancellor has said, on the date 20th November 2025. It's on a Thursday. And that lecture is on the topic development studies. It will be doing justice to the topic Calabar in the Atlantic Mirror, Myth, Misconceptions, and Realities. And this lecture will be delivered by the head of Department, History and International Studies, Professor Lishiliminle Imbwa, 151st inaugural lecturer. The citation reader for today, same venue, same time. May I request our members of the high table should please go down. First, you take a picture with the birthday celebrant for today, and after that, we'll have a normal snapshot.
Them say, them tell you say you can never be the one. But God say, make I tell you say.
Please do not leave the hall. Thank you so much.
In 1 month, in 1 week, you will say.
Can we have the Vice-Chancellor designate join?
Sing a new song in 2 days, lesser than you will hear. Congratulations, you're in the glory of God.
Citation reader, please join them.
He has done it for you, and you will come back with a new song to sing. God is good. Yes, you will come again with a new song of praise. God is good.
Can we sing a birthday song?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
The next segment of photograph with the wife and the children. Thank you so much. I think we are good to go. Can we please rise? Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last time we saw Professor Okafor like this was the day he said, I do. Today is going to say, I do, but in intellectual environment.
Of
I think things have happened over the years. The body language of everything has changed. In fact, I think Professor Young is watching you now. And Professor Young, because we will score you over. So we are still going to use a very popular name. We installed the name of Jesus so much. And that's what we are going to use here right now. Madam, I hope your husband's hand is not shaking. I know your hand is firm today. So we take capital J, E, S, U, and S. Okay. To, oh, my voice. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. We cannot say how old are you now. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you now. May the good Lord bless you. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, 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 hip. Thank you very much.
Need the broad expense of Nigeria's
Please, can we stay put where we are, please?
with a vision bright, ever holding the banner of knowledge. I will go forward by wisdom's might. All hail to the alma mater. We have come from near and far to unite in Calabar. We'll work to build our alma mater, University of Calabar. May our quest for knowledge in every field have its purpose to serve mankind. With the fervent hope that our efforts yield fruit for all who will come behind. All hail to the alma mater. We have come from near and far to unite in Calabar. We'll work to build our alma mater, University of Calabar. Mighty God, from whom all knowledge comes, let the wisdom in us overflow. May the knowledge gained in our campus here guide our steps as we onward go. All hail to the alma mater. We have come from near and far to unite in Calabar. We'll work to build our alma mater, University of Calabar.
Thank you.
This is University of Calabar anthem, sung by Glorio Sang, Ashiwe Joseph, Ruth Ejiro Tega, Brownson Adebet, Abu Sowizi. This is
Deputy
courtesy of
Vice
Egu Daniel Ifechikude, aka SUG, Director of Socials in Afufu Anthony Lay, 2016/2017 SUG schools.
It's Dr. Reezy Nano.
Congratulations.